Welcome back, everybody, to all of our viewers. My name is Dominic DiFranco alongside
Chris Doyle.
And we are here on episode number 5 with the Elevate Cleveland podcast. We've been talking about this guest for quite some time, Chris.
I think we called John back, one of our first ones that we scheduled, right?
Yeah. It was. And since, we went right to our CEO, Hesh, of Liberty Home Mortgage, and he was like, you got who on? We said, yeah John DiJulius. He goes, sit down right now and watch these videos. We watched like an hour of videos with him on YouTube. So for who it is we're referencing, guys, and with the book, obviously, The Relationship Economy, we have with us John DiJulius. John, thank you for coming on. Appreciate you coming out here.
My pleasure. Love it. Love what you're doing.
Absolutely. John, I have to, just from the book right away, a section I read in it yesterday, I was just telling you this before we started as well, how a lot of people say right away, how are you? And you say, change that to tell me something good. So, John, I'm going to ask you, tell me something good.
How long do we have?
Go ahead.
As long as you want.
No, health, my family, everyone close to me is doing great. My 3 boys, businesses are booming. I'm so blessed.
All good things to say. All good things to say.
Literally.
Yeah.
Authentically.
So then, John, do that for us. Let's touch on, you said business is going very well. We have you on for obvious reasons. You are pretty much what we would consider the guru of the customer experience.
That's what you're known for.
That's right. So if you can, just tell our audience who it is you are, what it is you do, and a little bit about where it is you started and how you got into it.
So I grew up in Cleveland. I went to St. Joe's in Cleveland State and actually flunked out and was requested to repeat every grade from 1st through 12th. I was ineligible to play baseball. But somehow I made it through and went back to college, graduated, and then met my wife, and she was this great hairdresser. So I was working at UPS driving a truck, making great money for me in the 80s because I grew up on welfare and had no dad and all that stuff, and so but it was a problem because it was like golden handcuffs. I was making $45,000 back in the late 80s, which the best I could get with my degree was like 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the moment you make 45, 150 or 2 million, you spend more than that. You live that lifestyle. So then now you got the house, you got the car, you got all that stuff. And I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I just couldn't put 2 and 2 together. I love sports, and I wanted to own a business, so I thought I was going to open a sporting goods store. That really is what I thought I would do back when I was getting out of college. But so instead, I wasn't willing to quit a great paying job and do that, and take that risk. So we decided to open a little salon for my wife, and we thought if that would take off. And the reason why we opened it was because the beauty industry was not all that. Horrible customer service, horrible employee. They didn't take care of their employees. No education, no benefits. Good hairdressers that worked with my wife would quit, who loved doing hair, because they had to go get real jobs, right? And so we said, why don't we open something that, really treated customers well, took care of employees, and gave back to the community. And so I thought that was, and it worked. And then I had to get in it because, at first we were struggling, and all of a sudden it just started taking off. And so as a result, people started asking me to speak in Cleveland. And, I didn't want to, I didn't think about it, but I'm like, oh, this would be a great marketing opportunity.
For sure.
So I'd speak at these local chambers of commerce, right? Think, oh, great, you'll find out about my John Roberts and buy your wife a gift certificate.
Right.
And that was my purely, only reason. And every time I spoke, this is in the 90s, 2 or 3 people come up and say, can we bring you into our company? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then they're like, how much do you charge? And I'm like trying to act like, I know what they're talking about. And so then I started speaking, and it got, it was growing. Maybe it'd be, 6 to 10 times a year, mostly in the beauty industry. And then I wrote my first book, Secret Service. They're all customer service books. And that came out in 2003. And that literally took me from a salon owner that spoke a few times to a speaker that owns salons. And so since then, I still own the salons, but have nothing to do with the day-to-day.
Yeah.
And just travel all over the world and work with companies on their customer and employee experience.
With the DiJulius Group?
With the DiJulius Group.
DiJulius Group.
Yeah.
So when did you open up the salon with your wife?
1993.
Gotcha. I'll be honest, Dominic, going into this interview, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
Because through the wrestling world and everything, the DiJulius name is pretty well known. But when I first heard your name, I mean, it's probably 10, 15 years ago, my dad was talking about you. And he was like, oh, yeah, John DiJulius, successful businessman and everything. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. Kind of learned a little bit of your story. And then obviously with your son, Johnny, and everything, you kind of learn a little bit more. And then you go full circle, 10, 15 years later, and you're on our podcast. I'm coming in here, my heart's thumping really fast. You know what I mean?
In your world, in the wrestling world, I'm just known as Johnny's dad.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story. So my second book, What's the Secret, comes out, hits number one. And, hitting number one is, think about it, anything, music, book, you're like, this is what you want. Now I can raise my prices. More people are calling. Radio stations are calling. If something happens in the news, like a bad customer service, like we were talking about the CEO that fired 900 people.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll call me to comment, or they'll bring me on to comment on that, right? That all came from back then. So it was kind of going to my head, right? Like, I'm a celebrity, right? So I fly somewhere to Tampa. I remembered it. I mean, this is like 2008. I fly to Tampa, get off a plane. As soon as I step off the plane, a guy comes up to me and says, excuse me, are you John DiJulius? And I think, oh, God.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is
like,
this
there's
guy
all these
saying?
people behind me, the paparazzis, I can no longer fly, I have to fly private and have body doubles and bodyguards. So I'm like, yes, I'm him, and waiting for the ruckus. And he turns to a guy next to him. He goes, he is the father of one of the best wrestlers in the country. I was like, dude, come on. I didn't need any body doubles. I didn't need to fly private.
Yeah. Now you're saying, wait, hold on. Do you want to know what I do?
Right.
Can I tell you what I do?
Yeah. So that's where I thought you were going that, I was Johnny's dad and you were just excited.
No. I mean, but your name has been, because of the salons and everything. And just hearing your come up story is honestly very well known, at least in Northeast Ohio. And especially when you go into the wrestling world, it goes a little bit deeper than that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're number one in customer service and everything. So, and you talked a little bit about entrepreneurship and that you had the itch for an entrepreneurship. When did that start? Was that, back when you were a kid, like mowing grass, or did you have a paper route or something?
It was with your Rob Makovic.
Yeah.
And when we were, teenagers, I put together a team, and we went to nationals, and every team had some old 50-year-old coach. Not old. I mean, I'm old now, but and it was a bunch of 18. We were 18 and under. And I managed our team. It was me. And it was just that was it, where I'm like, I love being in control. I love, it all being on my decisions. And then it just, I always knew. I used to lose sleep at night when I was in college because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, own. But I have to own a business. I knew, I had really I looked at everything completely different. And why do you have to do it like that? I had a disruptive way of looking at things. And
critiquing, thinking how can this be better?
How do I perfect this?
And that's what our salons were shockingly different when we opened compared to what was there.
It's funny because our guest last week, Mike Incorvaya with Keller Williams, the Incorvaya Group, him and his wife Sylvia are what really kind of brought Keller Williams real estate to the Northeastern Ohio area in early 2000s. It was actually 2006 when he bought into a franchise, and he said a lot of at that time, almost like the salons, it wasn't even focused on your employees. It wasn't even focused on who it is you were serving, your clients. It was just kind of like a mess, to where now what he was saying is they really kind of turned the group with their model as far as making it more about their employee. Right. So for you, one, I got to imagine that from the entrepreneurial spirit, it was an easy jump for you to go from where it is you were working at UPS to the salons, right? To open that up. And then from there, how did you know to implement all of these things that led you to being, writing your books on customer service?
It was, you either have or you don't from an entrepreneur standpoint. And I actually think the Great Resignation, what we're going through now, is helping, become a great realization that companies still don't put their employees first. Mm-hmm. And one of the BS's I call on people and leaders is they're saying there's a labor shortage. That's not true. A labor shortage, the definition of a labor shortage would mean that there's more jobs in the workforce, not even available, just pure jobs, than ever before, and less human beings alive. And neither is true. We have the same amount of jobs and the same amount of human beings. It's a turnover crisis. People don't keep people, which is a great slap in the face to businesses that, it's about their employees. And even though people have been saying it for 20, 30 years, it's a great wake-up call to see it. So my thing back at UPS, like I said, I was making great money, but you'll find out that money isn't the end all, because I drove to work every day and said in 29 more years, 3 months and 2 days, I could retire.
Sure.
And I wanted that time to go as fast as possible. Who wants to get old fast? But
you were wishing for it.
Yeah, because I'm like, what are they going to put on my headstone that he delivered packages on time? Mm-hmm. Right? That's I'm not going to make an impact there. So I was willing. So I just loved it. So when I got into salon business, even though I thought that was just going to be temporary, I thought I'd get this thing going and then I'd go open my sporting goods store. But, I loved it because the salon, like a lot of industries, it was the female version of landscaping. And there was a lack of professionalism.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's like today, but back in the 80s, if you weren't college material, if you're a girl, they say go to cosmetology. If you're a guy, they go to some trade.
That's so true.
Yeah. And then people got out and they were very good at their job, and they got sick of making the owner a lot of money, so they went and opened their own landscaping, their own hair salon, but they didn't know the first thing about running a business.
For sure.
So whatever I would get into, I always found that I underestimated it. Mm-hmm. And this is business, writing a book, marriage, raising kids, you name it. People would say, dude, it's hard. I'm like, yeah, I can do it. And then I find I'm like, oh my God, it's so much
tougher than I thought.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'll always, I'll eat, sleep, and drink. So I just read every book, still read every book. I consume now podcasts and YouTube videos and books and audios 2 to 3 hours a day. From workouts to, I went grocery shopping today. I had my AirPods in and listening, Gary Vee's new book, 12 and a Half.
Sure.
Just always consuming. So that's what it was. And I always looked at the... a lot of people, when you give them advice or say, why don't you guys do this? They're like, not in our industry, we don't do that. I'm the opposite. I only look outside the industry, where it's almost a detriment. If you say, hey, man, I went to a salon and they did something really cool, I'd whatever.
Yeah.
But if you told me the exact same thing was happening at a dentist's office, I'd be like, oh, we got to do that in a salon, right? I love outside and disrupting it. Ubering, there's an Uber coming to every industry. So long answer, but I don't know. I just had it, and I still have it, and I've started, several companies since.
I think that's the point of innovation, though, is innovation and differentiation is how, you have different mortgage companies out there, and they're all doing, they have interest rate, closing cost, customer service, but what are you doing to differentiate yourself from other places? Does a podcast really have anything to do with mortgages? Probably not,
right.
But at the same time, maybe it does.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So again, it is very different.
Yeah, until it's opened up to that, right? So, for example, you say, well, I don't want to listen to somebody who's saying, hey, I have this salon and this is what we do. I want the outside of the box. Hey, we're in a dentist office, or we're at a
Starbucks,
or
Starbucks, wherever,
right? Yeah. And we're implementing
Why
this.
Why can't we do that?
Exactly, exactly. Right. Do you have any specific examples of things that are totally unconventional to the salon that? And you can mention the name. It's John Roberts, right?
John Roberts.
John Roberts. Yep. Anything unconventional that you won't find in another salon that you guys specifically do that you've implemented with that company that has helped
Well,
the
definitely 30 years ago, everything was unconventional, and then some idiot wrote books on it and copied it.
May have to get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
But like our newest location, and every location we open up or remodel is like this. So our newest location in Hudson If you go in there, the best compliment we get is when someone goes in there that's never been there. They walk in, they look, and they walk out, and they look up because they think they walked into the wrong place because it doesn't look like a hair salon. So there's no reception desk. There's no, stuff. We kind of make the front like an Apple store, right? So you don't go to, like, you think about it, a doctor's office, any brick and mortar, you walk up to the woman sitting behind the desk, and she's kind of shuffling papers, and you're waiting, and she's doing this, and can I help you? Yeah, it's like, we don't want that. We want, we have a person with an iPad, and she comes to you. You don't go to her. And then, it's built, like an Apple store. There's no place to sit. So now you're playing with products, or you're watching a video of, I want that haircut, or I want that color, or I want a spa day, and then so we retail higher than all our locations, and pre-booking is huge in our industry, right? You get a haircut, and if I can get you to book your next appointment before you leave, you like every 3 weeks, you like every 5, whatever, you'll come in 3 more times in a year versus in 3 or 4 weeks, you'll be like, oh man, my hair's ragged. I'm going to call, but Jennifer, who you go to, is booked for the next 2 weeks. So now you've gone 5 weeks. Well, if we can get you to, pre-book. So what happens is the concierge, we call her, comes to you as you're, still in the chair saying, hey, Jennifer told me you usually like to book every 3 weeks. And you're like, yeah. Does the week of January 12th work? Yeah, Tuesday night, because it's Tuesday night. Yeah. Boom, booked. and she'll also say, and she also said you're supposed. She recommends that shampoo. Do you want me to get that for you? Yeah, and we make it easy. Versus a lot of times you might want to pre-book, you might want to buy this shampoo, but when you get up, there's a line at the front desk, and you got to be back at the office, or you're late for picking your children up, and you're like, I'll get it the next time. Yeah. So we do it, so that's just one small example.
But that's so important though, is what product is preferred by the customer, the customer's kids. Hey, I think you talk about in your book a little bit, like Ford. It's huge, and I've been using that a lot lately.
What's Ford, Chris?
So family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, right? Yeah. So using Ford to actually build client relationships, and it's used from, just correct me if I'm wrong, as not necessarily trying to solicit business, but you're building just a relationship like you would with anybody.
Gathering intel.
Right, and the reason why, Ford is so valuable is we're all genetically coded to be preoccupied with ourselves. Right? It's my flight that got delayed last night. My son got in trouble at school. I got to go in there and talk to the principal. My number 2 salesperson's threatening to quit. And then, goes back to, I bump into you as a friend, client, whatever our relationship is, and you say, how you doing? I'm like, oh, man. And I tell you about all that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now I just spoke to you for 15, 20 minutes, and I didn't build a relationship because I think I did. But I spoke about me the 15, 20 minutes.
For sure.
So when you train yourself and your team and your kids, when you speak to someone, focus on their Ford. And so I naturally, Dominic, 3 sisters, and you start, going through that. And now, you love talking about your Ford, right? Your Ford is, each of our Ford is what we geek out about. Like, I love talking about wrestling, right? And normal people don't know that, but if they get tripped up and they say, hey, are you any relation to? Oh man, like they're gonna wish they never asked me that, right?
Take
2 hours later, right.
Then you do a separate podcast,
right? But that's how people, feel. So if you can focus on other people's Ford, especially the recreation, what we do with our off time is something we're passionate about, right?
That's so true.
And so if I could find out you like to run marathons, or you like to, coach Little League or yoga, I own you. Now,
that's right.
And I know what your hot spots are.
Yeah, I think about when you say like the recreation part. I think about one of our bankers downstairs, Tom Gallagher.
Yeah.
His recreation, he loves to play guitar. He's in a little band. Probably like 8 to 10 of us from the office this past Friday went out to see him at a Euclid bar, C-Bars. I mean, you would think when we all walked through the door, like he lit up, like it made his night. So now you're putting, and I could see that, like you're pouring into like their recreation, their Ford. That lights somebody up.
It does. And you do that for clients, and you do it for employees. And so you look at someone like, I call him Tommy, but that thing that you guys did is one of the reasons why he probably would never look for another job, because it's family. That's right. Mm-hmm. His family showed up to support him as recreation, right? And that's huge. And so we need to focus on people's Ford.
So you did coin. Sorry, man.
You're good. Go ahead. Go, please.
So you coined Ford, but so where did that derive from? Like, did you learn that from somebody else, or did you just, hey, this? Because I've heard other like acronyms, like I think there's one like Frog or something, kind of like that. But Ford, where did that kind of stem from?
It just evolved over the years because, one of the reasons why I wrote a book, or my first book, was it was frustration, because when we opened the salons, if you had a bad arm, you could throw a rock in any direction and hit other salons, because on any main strip there's salons in every shopping center. Yeah. So it's like, all right, we had the 3 no's. We had no customers, we had no money, and we had no employees. So how are we going to compete? Because some of these are beautiful, and we're just like found a little dumpy place and threw a mirror up and some thing. How do we compete? And my wife and a couple of our new employees, they were really good talent, but it goes back to, there's a lot of smart mortgage people out there, and everything looks the same and feels the same. And so we couldn't out advertise, we couldn't out build a prettier place, but no one had good customer experience. So I said, that's where I got obsessed about, all right, how can we crush everyone in customer? And we didn't only want to be the best salon, because actually being the best salon is pointless, because if you come in, if a lady comes in today and gets a haircut at John Roberts, she then doesn't go across the street, down the street to someone else, a salon, to compare and say, oh my God, they're not as nice or friendly, or she doesn't need a salon for a few more weeks or probably a few more months. So that is not the benchmark. We wanted to be the best part of her day. So that she leaves the salon and she has to go to the doctor's office. And she's pissed at the receptionist because they don't greet her the way we greeted her. She meets her, friend for lunch at a nice restaurant, and we call it the Disney hangover. We wanted to be the Disney hangover. If you've ever been to Disney, the best thing about being at Disney is going to Disney. The worst thing is the next 72 hours after Disney, because every experience sucks. But it's the same experience you had before you went to Disney, but now your experience barometer's heightened. So we kind of wanted to do that. So back to why I got writing the book and speak on it, is every book and every speech, we didn't have internet or YouTube, every speech I heard live about customer service would always say, treat your customers really well. And but just hyperboles. Nothing was specific. Build a relationship. Okay, what do you mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah. Right. And if you tell 100 people to go above and beyond or build a rapport, you'd get 100 personal interpretations. Like, you might think a head nod is building a relationship. You might think running up and hugging them is building a relationship. And so we had to remove personal interpretations and teach you, if you were just starting today or working first, is here's what really building a relationship means. After you speak to anyone for 3 minutes or 30 minutes, you got to be telling me 2 more things to their Ford. Now, so we just had to get really tactical instead of just saying, be customer first.
So if you can't compete with the bigger companies out there, whatever industry it is, at least start with perfecting customer service. At least you can control that, right?
I'd end with it too. So now, 30 years later, we have deep pockets in the salon industry, and we still don't advertise.
Yeah.
Wow. Who's the number one car company in the world? Valuation. You don't know this?
No.
They're one of the top valued companies in the world besides auto industry. Tesla.
Oh, damn it! I was gonna say Tesla, but I was like,
number one.
Wow.
When's the last time you've seen a Tesla ad?
Oh yeah.
Never. So last year, 2020. Toyota spent $3 billion on advertising. Nissan spent 2.5. GM spent 2.3. Tesla spent zero on advertising, paid marketing. Yet they're the most valuable car company in the world. And people are just chasing, take care of your customers. And they'll come back and they'll be your marketing for you.
Yeah. It's always thought about Chipotle, like, I mean, now they have commercials and sometimes you see it. But
I'm not saying commercials are bad.
No. But in any case, it was more so like, wow, Chipotle's got a really good product. And, I like that the customer experience. I get in and out really quickly and I have an awesome product. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you never really saw a lot. It was
telling people about it.
Exactly, yeah.
So, Chris, remind our viewers again who it is we are and what we do.
Hey guys, both Dominic and I are loan officers here at Liberty Home Mortgage. So if you or anyone you know is looking to purchase or refinance a home, please email us at the elevateclepodcast@gmail.com. Subject line, looking to purchase or refinance a home. Email's in the description.
Yeah. So for you with your training and the onboarding of all of your clients, like let's say with the concierge who's walking around with the iPad when they walk into John Roberts' studio, how are they remembering from their last experience some tidbits about them, that their dog's name is Belle and...
we have that in our CRM system.
Okay, so the CRM system has a Ford log, essentially.
Every CRM system we've ever worked with,
okay.
Like I have 4 companies, 4 different CRM systems. We've customized it. We work with mortgage companies.
Okay.
And it's their CRM system. And everything, I've never found a CRM system you can't customize and add a Ford tab or a Ford field or whatever that is. But a lot of times, let's go to the mortgage company or call up and maybe in the loan process, right? Which could be 30 days, give or take.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, there's no way you could remember everyone you're dealing with, but it's real quick when the number populates or, thank you for calling Liberty. This is John. Whom do I have the pleasure of speaking with? And you're like, Dominic DiFranco. Hey, Dom, how's Jersey, this time of year? Is it cold? And it's all right in front of me. I didn't even have to type that, right? I had to get that information when you were applying for a loan.
That's right.
Right? And so a lot, especially in your guys' business, Ford is almost mandatory.
It really is.
And I've listened to calls with mortgage companies, right? Clients. And it's no fault of the mortgage account executives. But they're going down a script. And they say, Mr. Smith, are you married? And he said, I lost my wife a year ago. Okay, do you have kids?
Yeah, and you're skipping right over that.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
And again, stop. I'm very sorry for your loss, Mr. Smith. Can't imagine what that's like. Take a second, and then go to the next questions. But you got to hear. You hear a dog barking, a baby crying in the background. Recognize it. Say so. Oh, what kind of dog? Mm-hmm. People have dogs, love their dogs.
Absolutely.
People have babies, love their babies, right?
Yep.
So you hear and see a lot of things that you don't hear and see unless you're focused on it, right? So it's like, all right, I'm going to call you back Wednesday with an answer from processing, from whatever, and then Mr. Smith says, no, I'm going to be on vacation next Wednesday, or I'm picking up my daughter from Duke. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're transaction focused, you're going, how about Thursday? Mm-hmm. Versus catch that, right? And then when you do speak to him again, you say, hey, how was, getting your daughter back home? Or how was your trip to, Charlotte with your wife,
Yeah.
Instead of just being transaction focused.
Yeah. Or send them the shirt that says Duke Dad, right?
Oh, 1,000%.
Read that in the book. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
Like I spoke to a client the other day, and she was expressed for a while. I used the "How are you?" Not too good. I haven't been feeling well. I'm a little under the weather. Right away, as soon as I got off that call, I went to my assistant. Can you please send her a get well card? Just wishing her from the company that we wish her well.
And I know you guys, I think, have limitations on sending gifts
before
kickback.
Yeah. I think after you're a client, you could send them stuff. After the loan's been funded,
it's with referral partners.
Right.
Real estate agents, I can't be like, oh, hey, your daughter plays soccer, I'll buy her a soccer ball.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that stuff.
But there is a gift in every conversation. Mm-hmm. With friends, with clients, or coworkers. You're catching up. If you're paying attention, now, I can send you a link to the top 2 restaurants in Charlotte because you told me you were going there. Have you ever been to Charlotte? No, I'm excited. Oh, great. Have a great time. Hang up. It takes 30 seconds. Top 2 restaurants. Hey, if you have time, I would go to, and you look them up.
These out.
Right?
Yeah.
It takes 2 seconds. Yeah. Or you're running your first half marathon, right? And you just brought that up. Send you a link to how to train, sleep, eat, whatever.
Yeah.
And people are like, I don't remember telling them that.
That's right.
And
That's right.
There's a conversation gift. It doesn't have to get you in hot water with, you know, whatever. It's not a paid gift.
Exactly. So, John, a lot of, and we were telling you kind of before the podcast when we were showing you around the building and everything, like how we actually get a lot of our business, you know, so we have like the self-gens, which we can get from local real estate, really anything that's not company bought. Well, we do a lot of lead. I mean, you're licensed in 16 states.
12 states.
12 states. I'm licensed in 16 states. So a lot of time.
You just do that to kind of just.
It could be a plug.
Yeah. I'm better than you.
Yeah. No. All 4 of the states I'm not in that he's in are gonna stream that.
There you go.
No, I like how you worked that in.
There you go.
Right.
But
didn't you win that award last year?
Yeah.
Oh no, that was me. That was me. All right.
So, but so we go. You know, you're working with someone from North Carolina. Yeah. Right, someone calls in Lending Tree. Hey, they're looking. You know, they're with Rocket Mortgage or New Day USA and UWM, and they're trying to pick. You know, at the end of the day, is it interest rate or is it? Hey, do I know? I remember on the second call your dog's name. Could that be the differentiator that makes them go with us? Even though
it contributes, it's a trust factor, right?
Exactly.
And you can't necessarily build trust the first time.
For sure.
But you have to be wicked smart and demonstrate to them of the 3 or 4 people I'm window shopping you against. Man, you knew your shit. Like you were wicked smart.
To the customer, it's more from their shoes when they call in and they're like, "Wow, I like this 123 Smith Street down in Charlotte or whatever, and I'm looking to get pre-approved for it." And they call in, they have 4 different lenders that are all calling them. Really, the only thing is, what's your interest rate?
Right.
And that's again, interest rate's very important. But you know, how are you? Is it communication? Is it the
But you could also demonstrate, and this is so my thing and the DiJulius Group thing is we help companies make price irrelevant. Okay, I mean.
Oh, okay, sure.
And I love that. And people are like, you can't make price irrelevant. Yes, you can. It doesn't mean I can double my fees, rates, prices tomorrow and not lose existing. What it does mean is, based on the experience we consistently deliver, our existing customers have no idea what our competition charges. So if I've been to Liberty or Metro, Lexus, whoever, and they've been so good and reliable and peace of mind and they do what they say, I'm not price checking them the next time I need a mortgage, refi, a car, or whatever. I'm just coming to them, and that's what makes price irrelevant, because that's why you want referrals and you want repeat business, because if you're Googling mortgages,
sure,
you better be the cheapest. And I gotta stand on my head and tell you, and it's hard for me to prove that. If you do work with me, you're not gonna have any headaches because you don't know that yet. But if he comes back to me because we've worked in the past, or you referred him, he said, "Dude, I heard you're awesome." He's not checking anyone else. He's not checking about price. Yeah. He wants me. I'm in demand, or my business, or whatever that may be. So, that's the really important thing is to be able to start building that trust. And I always say, when people start talking to you about price and say, "Whoa, I can get it 10% cheaper," it's what we say next. And so what I say next, or what we train our team to say, is I'm going to explain to you why we charge what we do, and so well that you're going to hang up the phone, walk away, whatever the reaction looks like, saying, "I can't afford to go cheaper." Think about it. So I go and get a mortgage or whatever I'm getting with someone else who's just slashing price.
Sure.
But what are the headaches? And they're telling me I can get it in 20 days.
Yeah.
And I get it in 45. And they're a mess with appraisals and the paperwork and everything.
Talking to 10 people.
Yes. Yeah. And why didn't you get this or ask me for this the first time? And you guys know better than me.
Yeah.
But there's an expense to time and stress. And maybe I wasn't approved. And whatever, and so that's the same thing. So it's really important that you can articulate why you're worth every penny, because a lot of times the cheaper you go, the more it does cost you. Headache,
that's right.
Stress. He's the guy that I was talking to, the account exec. He's not even there anymore. Now I got to start over with someone else in the company, and they're asking me all these stupid questions again. They already went through all that. I sent you guys that. Well, we don't have it.
So do you bring up price yourself, or do you wait until the customer asks you about the price, or how do you go about that conversation? Like, how does it start?
So it all depends on the business model, right? So in the DiJulius group, let's say, and I'll give an example. So our salesperson, which is chief relationship officer, they may say, they'll say, hey, we're looking for we heard John's really good, or saw him speak, and we want to know if he can keynote our annual association, right? Association of whatever, mortgage, whatever it is. And they say, how much does he charge? And she says, $25,000. Mm-hmm. Oh, God. Well, we only have a budget for 15, and so she might say, hey, there's a lot of good speakers out there for 15. Mm-hmm. But hold on, before you go, let me just ask you, what's the goals of this annual conference? And the keyword's annual, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we bring in all the people that are members of our mortgage association, whatever association, funeral directors association, whatever. And how important is that annual conference to them renewing every year? Oh, it's like the number one reason why they renew, because we put on this, and it's a network, and they all get together, and it's in Phoenix. Oh, so if one sucks, if you just had a bad one or a bad speaker, what can you do? Like, can you get them all together like a couple weeks and bring them back and make? That's it. Yeah. It's a year later. And how important did last year's speakers determine how well the turnout is this year? Oh, everything. Mm-hmm. Like if we had great speakers last year, 80% come back. Mm. And all of a sudden you start casting all these doubts that they can't afford a $15,000 speaker because what it'll cost them
is even greater.
If he's not great or she's not great. Now we have less people that renew their membership, less people that want to come back next year and feel it's worth it. And so you kind of bring it up without disparaging anyone. And so you have to do that in the mortgage business. You have to do that in the hair business, right? Hey, I can get this haircut at Great Clips, Best Clips, whatever it is, for $9.99. Oh, yeah. Well, you got any Christmas parties you're going? Yeah. And you start talking about all the things you have coming up. Well, hair's not something you can take off and put in a closet if you don't like it. Yeah. Then you're like, well, do you have some good hats in case it's a bad haircut? And you're starting to, realize,
I have to go with it.
I have to go with it.
You have no choice.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Elevate Cleveland podcast. Dominic, wrap it up for us.
As Chris stated at the beginning of this podcast, we are licensed loan originators for the best mortgage company in the land. That is Liberty Home Mortgage. Guys, if you or anybody is looking to purchase or refinance a home, doesn't matter if you've done this 1, 10, or 100 times, call us, email us. The email is in the description below. Reach out to that email. In the subject line, put looking to purchase / refinance a home, whatever it is your goal is. Chris and I will reach out to you within 24 hours, and we look forward to helping you with whatever it is your specific home goal is. Thank you. If for like a new client, if I just start at your salon or in any one of your companies, okay, and to quickly catch me up, like, am I going through some sort of boot camp, or like how do you...
As an employee?
Yeah, like how do you get your employees up to... I got to imagine that you're only hiring individuals who display an attitude when you're having a conversation with them, like we were talking down in Ty Mitch's office about like, hey, the interview starts before you even think it does, and I'm just kind of getting a feel of you and seeing if you're like a Debbie Downer, the victim role, or what kind of mentality you have. Is that a part of your selection as well? Like saying, hey, I'm going to take you from like the Eeyore of the group and make you the customer service person who everybody loves to come and see, or is it like, hey, you got to be the energetic person, and then I'm going to teach you these things that are going to make you the best?
It's all about energy and hospitality. And hospitality isn't an industry. It's about how you make someone feel, right? And like, how you guys, as soon as they walked in, how you guys make people feel. And I could care less about skill, and I think it's the same thing here. Like, you got a bunch of kids working here, and I'm sure, when I say kids, it's 30 and under. They don't have 20 years of mortgage experience, right? So there's people out there that have triple the amount of time in that you have, right? That are wicked smart and but you can teach that, but I can't teach you to be nice. I can't teach you to genuinely love others. All the hours training in the world would never change that. So yeah, we make it really hard to get a job. Okay, And then when they get it, they have to go through, just this intense customer service training before they go into the technical training. Because again, anyone can ask the questions. Make sure you get this, and the last 3 years of financials and all those things. Anyone could follow that checklist, and the computer will guide you now and all that.
Right.
But to recognize that his wife passed away, 6 months ago, to make a genuine connection, and to say, oh, you went to, Maryland. My grandfather went to Maryland. So you're, I forget, Maryland is Maryland, not Badgers, but Wisconsin Badger. You're a Badger.
Yeah. The Terps, I want to say.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah. Good. So, and that's another thing. People are so crazy about what they're alumni's of, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you can, reference, oh, my cousin, I know someone, and genuinely, but when you find it, that's building connections. And all of a sudden I trust you because you're not just a voice trying to screen me to see if I'm loanable. We both have relatives that attended the same school. You grew up in, you're a former wrestler, whatever that may be. Now you're a human being. Mm-hmm. And so that's where you want to make that connection.
Yeah, they're not a client. You're just talking to humans. At the end of the day, making those small connections.
Right. That's where Matt Luptak has been teaching us, where if you feel like as a loan officer, Matt, he's with Sandler Training. He does like sales training and stuff like that with us. Awesome guy, and he teaches us and has been teaching us, listen, if you're a loan officer, a mortgage banker in this company, and you feel the Groundhog's Day, right? The reference to every day just feels the same. It is my assumption, because history repeats itself, and across the board, this is what we find when you feel like it's Groundhog's Day. It's because you're focusing too much on delivering the product versus recognizing who it is you're working with. Right. If you truly take the opportunity to try and I like how in one of your videos, you said how it would be when you would go out with your sons, it would be a challenge, say who can collect the most forward in the shortest amount of time.
Right. Beat the greet.
That's right. So if you can, if on the phone,
who said hello first to strangers?
Yeah. Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
If you can take your foot off the gas of trying to just push the product and make it more so about the individual. Hey, I'm talking to John DiJulius. I'm talking to to Chris Doyle, not just some other guy from Lending Tree in New Jersey who's trying to buy a $500,000 house, and I'm hoping I'm going to make my my commission on it.
Yeah.
Versus
be human first.
That's right.
And a mortgage lender second.
That's right.
And they're a human first instead of just how qualified are they. And so that's why one of the things we do with all our clients, we did with the mortgage companies, is we create a day in the life of a customer. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's a video. And it's about what's happening in all your potential clients, my potential clients, day before they come in contact with you.
Okay.
And so they could just find out that their brother has cancer. They could be there's different. You're right. We're dealing with different customers. They could he could be popping the question to his girlfriend, right? Yeah, and so it's a high and low. It's not just man, everyone's life sucks. But then you picture that's what just happened. Now they pick up the phone, they're calling you because they want the house of their dreams, or they have to, whatever that is. Yeah. And so now you're more present instead of, because we all transactionalize, and that goes back to Groundhog's Day. Is my 1030 here yet? Is my keynote in Nashville? I have a keynote in Nashville. No, you don't. You have a company that's paying a lot of money. And they're investing, taking everyone out of work for the day for you to come in and change the course of their next 12 months. So I can't think of them as you go back to the hair salon. Our hairdressers will say, is my 5:30 yet? My 8th haircut of the day, my 3rd last one until I can get the hell out of here. So we have to teach them, no, man, that's a woman who can't normally afford a salon like us. Asked her in-laws, her spouse, her parents to get her a gift card for her birthday, Christmas. Today's the day. She's had it on her calendar, marking it out. Today's the day. She took off work an hour early, got a babysitter, and today's her trip to Paris for an hour at John Roberts Spa. This is luxury. This is Beverly Hills to her. But we're looking at her as next is my 5:30 here. Wow. And so we have to change that mindset so we know we have to be the best part of their day. You said ATI's physical therapies. What was theirs?
Out of Chicago.
Most memorable moment.
It was be the memorable moment in their day. And I took that last night, literally as I was reading it, I set down the book and I was like, this is, like, don't even apply this to sales. Don't even apply this to being downstairs in the call office or in the call center, calling Zillow and LendingTree leads or calling the realtors to try to, schmooze them to, like, give you business or this and that. Like, this is transactional. This is for the gas station clerk behind the counter.
100%.
This is for the person that you pick up at, at Angelo's Pizza on the way home. When you go behind it, it's the 17-year-old girl who just got off of high school and she came over and now she's working a job, right? Or she's on Christmas break. Like, act as if it's literally the human being, like your daughter or your sister or your mother, your father, who's behind that counter, behind the phone, and that's what takes, like, the mundane type feel out of it.
Yeah. It makes you feel better too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because it's a fruitful interaction.
A hockey goalie, swatting off everything coming at you.
That's what Param talks about. We're having a professor from BW come on, Param, and just funny guy. But he talks about in some of his lectures, he's been on the TED Talks and everything, where he talks about walking through, like, you're on autopilot half the time. And whether you're a CEO or you're a salesperson or whatever, you do a lot of it's one-to-one transactions and you're not in the moment. You kind of just are just sleepwalking through life, right? So he talks a lot about just taking a pause and actually being in the moment with somebody else. And it's business advice as well as just big life advice too.
The greatest gift you can give anyone is the gift of your attention.
Sure.
And that's hard today. With all the distractions and the mobile, my Apple Watch is going off, and I'm looking over the shoulder to see if she's arrived yet. I've been waiting for her. I got to talk to her. You got to gift the attention, right? So personally, professionally. I mean, when I get home from the airport or a busy day, I'll pull in the garage, and I know I'm not ready to give that to my 3 boys. Sometimes, and so I'll sit in the garage for another 5-10 minutes with the car off, until I can go in and decompress. Yeah, because you got to give that gift.
So you mentioned, like, with all the distractions we have today, we're constantly being flooded with social media or the news, and everything like that. But do you think customer service, sales is harder to grasp today than it was, 40, 50 years ago? Because of the distractions or because of the...
Yeah, well, also... a lot of things are digital, so we don't have to talk to human beings anymore. I mean, everything, is self-service and all those things, which is great. I love the convenience, but and no fault of 30 and younger, they are relationship disadvantaged because you weren't forced to, be in. I didn't have technology. I didn't have the internet. I didn't have a cell phone. So all we did was face-to-face. We didn't have Zoom. We didn't have any of this. And so, what took us decades to cultivate relationships, you can't microwave that for the younger generation. But you got to train it, and businesses have to realize that, again, it's no fault of their own, but that's our workforce and our future workforce. So that's where we got to train them. And I have found, we have over 100 millennials that work for us or younger, and they are rock stars.
Sure.
Once they're trained, they love it. And I hate when people bash the younger generation. Number one, the people bash them my age, we're the ones that raised them, right? So why are we bashing them?
Exactly.
But they're rock stars if you train them.
Mm-hmm. I wonder just how different it was, though. Just because for example, I have one client who only talks to me via email. And she's around 20, 22, right? She just doesn't like talking on the phone. You know what I mean?
I don't either.
Yeah.
Which is funny. When someone calls me, and I kind of I really don't want to answer this. I know it's more of a business, like the guy putting lights on my house.
Yeah.
I'll just send it to voicemail. Even if I'm not busy, I just don't. But I'll text him and say, dude, busy, what's up? He'll say, I won't be there till 5. Totally fine.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that too, and I'm the old guy on the neighborhood. And the other thing that people my age criticize is, you got to write people cards. I don't care. If you send me a text, an email, a video, text, smoke signals, a telegram, it doesn't matter to me. it's the message that's important.
You were thinking of me.
Yeah. And so like one of the things I talk about is a great relationship hack that I read about in a book called Kindness, Your Superpower by Adrienne Bankert. And we all know this, we've all done it, but when she talked about it's video texting.
Yeah.
So I mean, we all done it and stuff, but I only did it a few times until I read this. And she just said when you video text someone, so I'm about to text you, hey, Chris, I really enjoyed being on your podcast, but I type it, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But she said if you just turn it into a quick video, it takes less time.
Yep.
Because there's no spell check and whatever.
Thinking about it.
Right, and change it, and so I started doing that to my kids. And like I have 150 employees, and what I've always done is on their anniversary day, I get a thing and it says it's Chris Doyle's 3rd year anniversary. I'd always text, hey Chris, congratulations, man, you're man. I think before I text, could this be a video? So I just take videos, and again, they take less time than I would have texted. But the message I get back, hearts, and it made me cry, and I showed this to my husband, and like, really? Mm-hmm. And so now it's a good habit. But my back to my point is, like, old fuddy-duddies, get off my lawn type of people are like, you got to write cards. I don't care how it's the message. Yeah. And make sure the message is authentic and not like
mundane.
No name.
Yeah.
Now I know you're copy and pasting. Mm-hmm. Or put something in there like, instead of, hey, hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Put something in there that I know it wasn't just a copy and paste.
Yeah.
With your 3 boys.
Right.
Now I know, wow, that's really cool. John or Mr. whatever you'd say, hope you and your 3 boys have a wonderful holiday season.
I'm going to start, honestly, for my closed loans, I might just start doing that now. Because I do, and then
text?
Yeah, I mean, I
wouldn't even do closed loans. Yeah. I would do the initial call. That would blow my freaking mind. Like, hey, Mr. DiJulius, it was a pleasure speaking to you.
Yes.
Again, my name's Chris Doyle, and you, whatever your tagline is, you got the right guy, and I'm gonna work with you. And I'd be blown away.
Do you think some people think? So Nick Krem is a guy that comes in here. He's our buddy, one of our coworkers downstairs, Anthony Tanko. Went to, I want to say, North Royalton with a guy named Nick Krem. Nick Krem is probably a year older than Chris and I. He's probably 27, 28, and has a very successful business in like digital marketing. He is huge on the video texting.
1,000%.
So he comes in, he's told us that. And I did that for some time, and I thought, you know what? It was starting to become a habit. Then I was like, I feel like people think it's weird. Like, do you think your generation, if they get a thing from a 26-year-old with a cross necklace on, a headset, a flat brim ham, and tattoos and a mortgage thing is like, this is weird. Like, I got to go somewhere else. I got to go to a guy who I know sitting in the suit.
That would blow my mind that it would solidify. Okay. Now you have a face, because what we were really good at 3 years before Zoom, so it's been, before the pandemic, for the last 5 years, I had everyone in the DiJulius group couldn't have a conference call with a client. It had to be a Zoom call. Mm-hmm. Because again, a voice. You're a voice, I'm a voice. There's no connection there.
Yeah.
I may like your voice, I may not like your voice, or I may think you're multitasking or whatever. But once I see you, and you laugh at my stupid joke, or I see behind you, your diploma or a picture of a beach or whatever, it totally humanizes it versus just a voice. And we all have the stereotypes of salesmen. You're a sleazy salesman trying to make your commission check off me, right? But when I see you and you send me a video, that just changes everything. You're a nice kid. I'm sorry, I keep on calling you kid, but
your son's age, I get it.
Right. In the grand scheme of things, I guess. Yeah. But
funny.
You mentioned the pandemic. I do want to dive into that a little deeper because that's a part of the. It was for everybody super challenging, right?
Yeah.
A lot. I don't know if you had to change your business models or if, you had to pivot a little bit in how you actually attain customers and stuff. But how did the DiJulius group do? March 2020 up until now.
It crushed us initially because all our consulting was on site. We'd go into companies, every week, every month, keynotes. That's what I do. We have our business is mostly consulting, which I don't do that much of. But 90% of our consulting, which is our bread and butter, comes from me doing a keynote. And someone sees me and says, I want to, can you come in and help our company? Yes, and then a consultant will go in. Mm-hmm. So that made us dry up because, I wasn't out there speaking. And so the book helped because the book came out like a month before the pandemic. But what we did was we totally pivoted. We always wanted, so you talked about Sandler training. Okay, I don't know if you ever heard of EOS. These are like coaching model businesses. And we always wanted to go in the customer experience space, Sandler sales. No one has ever done a coaching model in customer experience. Okay. And so someone's been telling me for years, you got to do this. You guys would crush it. And I say, I know, but we just have no time. We're so busy, and I don't want to do anything half-assed. Well, March comes, we got nothing to do. So our whole year of 2020 was focused on building, it's called CX coaching, customer experience coaching, and it's all our methodology that now anyone can become a licensed CX coach, and they're an entrepreneur, but we give them everything. You have all the videos and slide deck and pre-work and thing. And so now in 2021, we have over 20 licensed coaches that are out there in Australia, Canada, Cleveland, everywhere. And then every quarter we do another coaches camp. And that's what we always want to do. And we hope in 5 years, CX coaching actually puts the DiJulius group out of business.
Really?
It's for smaller companies, and coaching is different than consulting, which you guys probably know, but it's not as hard, and smaller companies can't afford consulting. They don't have the bandwidth but coaches, they come in once a quarter, they work on stuff, and then whoever like we were talking about the woman who would be a great CXO,
Amy. Yeah.
She, hey, Amy, this is what you need to do, and I'll be back next quarter.
She starts implementing it.
So it's a great model. So it was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we just broke our best quarter ever.
Congrats.
In the company's history. Wow. Yeah, so
that's awesome.
It ended really well.
You grew through it.
Yeah.
Minor setback to slingshot you forward.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Dude, March 2020, man.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy. When everyone gets sent home, we're like, am I going to have a job next month?
Yeah, seriously. I remember that. It was crazy times. John, I want to ask you more specifically. You've mentioned it a few times. We haven't dove deep into it. Chris kind of brought it up in the beginning with, your boys. Obviously, your oldest, Johnny, being a big name in Ohio with wrestling and everything like that. I loved your one video. I don't know who it is you were speaking to when you told them about the story of you being the typical wrestling dad when Johnny was a young boy and you took him out to the Oklahoma State
tournament.
Tulsa. Yeah, you took him out to that tournament. I want to just ask you, one, you kind of give like the shorter version of that story and like what that meant to you and what that taught you, because that was a big lesson for you.
Yeah. It is an incredible story.
Just like what your boys have taught you in life and being like a wrestling dad, because all three of them are wrestlers, right?
No, two of them, the smart one is not.
Okay.
For many reasons.
Yeah.
He's smarter in school, and wrestling is a brutal sport.
Yeah. So maybe that story about your experience with Johnny there, and then also just like what being around them and the sport and raising them has done for you, not only in business but in life, and has helped you as a man.
So number one, I was a baseball player. I played in college, and it took me 12 months a year to work on baseball just to be able to make the team.
Okay.
Like, I wish someone would introduce me to wrestling, because obviously, being short, all the other sports are very discriminatory towards,
immediate
little
deficit.
Right. So, when we had Johnny, he was going to be the baseball player that I never was. I literally built a batting cage in our house and stuff, and so he was, it would have been ugly, because but then he needed something to do in the winter, and I got him in to wrestling, and he took off. He was pretty good. And so to your story, I thought he was really good, and someone says, take him to Tulsa, Oklahoma, the best tournament. We go out there, and he gets his ass kicked. 2 and out, pin, tech fall.
How old was he there?
10.
He was 10 at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh my God. And so, he's devastated. I'm devastated. I feel bad. And he's like, so to make him feel better, I'm like, hey, Johnny, I knew you were going to lose. I start making this stuff up. And I'm like, hey, I tell him, if you just go back to Ohio and do this, and this, I kind of made this thing up. I said, we'll come back next year and
you'll knock it out.
Yeah. And so I just did to make him feel, and make myself feel better for putting him in that situation, right? I felt horrible. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think he'd do any of it. And he took everything I said literally.
Yeah.
Workout, practice.
The push-ups every night.
Everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so next November, he's like, hey, we going? I'm like, going where? He goes, Tulsa. I'm like, you want to? And I'm like, oh, crap. Because now he's going to go get his ass kicked again, and he's never going to believe another thing I said. But I had to take him. So he goes, and he ends up winning the whole thing. And I couldn't believe it. And he beat, kids that killed him the year before. And, I said to him, how did you do this? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, are you kidding me? And he says, because you told me I could. And that really, it really bothered me that I invited my kid to greatness on insincere terms. I didn't think he could do it. I was just telling him that to make him feel better, make myself feel better. And, and the older we get, the more cynical we become. And, kids, and that's the brilliant of youth, they are too ignorant and too naive to think something is impossible, and then they make the impossible. Where as we get older, we're like, no, you don't know what you're doing.
Put too much thought into
right.
all the factors
and the history, and 80% of people who try it have failed.
Where they're just like, oh, okay, I can do it.
Sure,
I'm gonna be the president one day.
Right. So and wrestling's just such a great sport for self-esteem and and all that, and humbling and when he lost, and my younger son, I remind him there's gonna be better days. But when they win it, something big, I remind them there's going to be worse days. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to make sure we balance.
Never as good, never as bad.
Right. Mm-hmm. And understand that, you did great, but, remember this moment when you're struggling.
Mm-hmm. So I think about a lot sometimes, even like in our business, in sales in general, a lot of things you just can't control. But I attribute how you respond to that stuff because I wrestled, and it doesn't. It's not necessarily
100%.
it's not necessarily only a wrestling thing, but for sure, wrestling taught me that, hey, you could put 100% effort into something, and you still won't get the result you want. But that doesn't mean you quit, and that doesn't mean that you do 99% or 98%. It means, hey, the next time you still give 100% no matter what. And maybe I didn't realize that as much in wrestling as I do now in sales because, dude, some days are terrible. Yeah. You know what I mean? Some days suck.
You gotta be sold on your process. That's
but at the end of the day, you have to be able. Exactly.
But the match isn't won the day it's wrestled.
For sure, yeah.
It's won the 6 weeks to 3 months leading up to it. The sale isn't won today. It's what you've put into it the past 3 to 6 months, your knowledge, your training, the process, you refined it, objections, all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I had a lot of, when I was in high school, a lot of my coaches and everything would always tell me this, and I never believed it, was, hey, keep wrestling because when you become an adult, when you're in the workforce and everything, you're really going to appreciate the sport. And I was like, I'm cutting weight, this sucks, I hate wrestling and everything. But listen, this is geared to the wrestlers, any high school or college kid, if you're going through the struggle.
I'd hire a wrestler over anyone if all things were equal.
100%. If you're a wrestler and you're going through the shit right now and it sucks, just know that when you apply for a job, you get the job, and you're working, you're hustling, you're going to appreciate the times that suck. Right now as you're listening to this, you're going to be a lot more grateful that you went through it.
Yeah, that's right. Guys, how we doing on time? We're at an hour. Cool. John, as we kind of come to our closing points here, I want to ask you, business aside, 100% take business out of it. What would be any advice that you would give to any of our viewers, whatever the demographic might be, no matter what kind of position they're in right now, something to implement in their lives, something that you have done and that you have found has made your life more fruitful? Again, business aside, money aside, everything. Mm-hmm. What makes your life more fruitful and makes you fulfilled and grateful in life?
Well, relationships are everything. And, right now, even at your guys' age, it'll be true in 10 years, it'll be true on your deathbed. You are where you're at because of the relationships you've cultivated. Mm-hmm. And that could be a bad place, right? And that could be hopefully a good place. But wherever you are, relationships and friends and teachers and coaches and all that, neighbors, that is so important. But, besides that, I love these 2 words. It's the last chapter of my book, give more. And just find ways to give more in every situation to your company, to your client, to your coworker, to your spouse, to your neighbor, and don't the back to that. We all become cynical. The deal is that our agreement says that you're going to do A, B, and C, and I'm supposed to do X, Y, and Z. But too many of us wait and make sure that the other person does what they say, and then we do what we say. So what I try to teach myself, my 3 boys, my employees, do X, Y, and Z first and throw in W. Even though W wasn't part of the deal, even though they weren't expecting W, always give more. Don't wait, don't keep score, and don't have a good memory. And what that means is don't remember 3 years ago when someone didn't do what they said they were going to do. Don't let that ruin it. So it's the simplest example. Someone gives you their pickup truck to move furniture. You give them that pickup truck cleaner and with more gas than they gave it to you. And it's almost a selfish thing. It sounds weird, but when you give more, the way it comes back to you, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. So it'd be give more in every situation instead of the least amount.
Yeah, I thought the 2 words were. I thought the 2 words were carpe memento, because you say that a lot. You do.
Yeah, that's on the end of my email signature.
Can you explain that real quick?
Yeah, it's actually I formed 2 languages, Latin and Spanish, carpe memento, and it means seize the moment. Mm-hmm. Right? Instead of seize the day, seize the moment. Because you got to seize the moment right now, the gift of your attention, that you're in it, in order to win the day. The day is a collection of micro moments. Mm-hmm. And again, it could be with your client, it could be with your coworker, it could be with your girlfriend, whatever those are. But our focus should be on just being in the moment. Whether it's face-to-face, click-to-click, ear-to-ear, whatever that may be.
So Dominic asked a little bit of the life advice, and my question is business advice. Your number one piece of business advice, let's say, we always give the example, the 23-year-old who just graduated from Cleveland State doesn't know if he wants to take the W-2 job or if he wants to start his own business. What would you say to that individual, business, just solely focused on business?
Well, first you got to be self-aware. And self-aware knows your strengths, and so I might want to become an entrepreneur because they make a ton of money, but I don't have the entrepreneur gene. Mm-hmm. Like I don't like to get up before noon. I don't like to entrepreneur is freaking brutal.
Sure.
Now all the brutal sucky stuff, I love that. Like I want chaos. The pandemic was my time to shine. Right? Like I live for that.
Yeah.
Because that's when, but if you're someone who wants to crawl into the fetal position when that shit happens, being an entrepreneur,
ain't for you.
Because it's not only pandemics, it's when, whenever shit hits a fan, when your number one client is saying they're leaving you because someone screwed up. Mm-hmm. Like an entrepreneur is like, let me talk to them, right? Versus the non-entrepreneur is like, I want nothing to do with that. It's stressful. I'm losing my hair. I'm turning gray. And that's not criticism, but know that, you don't want to go out there and hunt. You want, the customers or employees brought to you, and you'll crush it in that way. So, it can't be about money because, money doesn't bring passion, right? I could pay $1 million to, dig ditches. You won't be passionate about digging ditches. Right. Mm-hmm. So I call it ikigai. And I may have to give you the spelling, but it's like Ikigai. But it's pronounced ikigai. It's a Japanese meaning for purpose, your calling. And 4 things have to intersect, okay? First one is something you love to do, okay? But that's not enough. You might love to play golf.
Yeah.
Can you go pro? No. Right? Yeah, it's a hobby then, right? Wrestling, there's no professional thing. Whatever that may, I still play baseball, hardball, 50 and older, right? Love it, but I can't make a living at it. All right, love to do, intersects with that you have passion for it. No, I'm sorry, that's the same thing. Intersects that you could be the best at, okay? Okay, so now you got love to do and that you could be freaking badass at it, the smartest, whatever, and you're willing to, work 24/7. And then the next one is that someone's willing to pay you for, right? So now those are 3. Love to do it, I could be great at it. I will consume, outwork you, out-train you, all those things, and that someone's willing to pay me pretty well. Either customers are paying me as a business or a company's willing to pay me. And then the fourth one is that provides a positive impact on the world. And that's ikigai. You're calling, and you got to find that, and don't be in a hurry. Like I think the younger generations, my kids, I don't remember having. You're 18, or even 21, and I think our school systems are screwed up. All right, what's your major? What do you think you want to do for the next 60 years?
Crazy.
That's stupid.
Yeah. Psychology major.
Right, and do this. Find 40, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds who are successful, whatever you term that as, and ask 10 of them, what was your major and what was your career? And more than 50% aren't the same, right? Oh, I wanted to be an accountant, a CPA, and I started doing it. I was like, oh, my God.
Screw this.
This sucks.
Yeah.
But my uncle drove a badass car, and he was an accountant, right? That's okay. So I tell my kids, just go do shit.
Yes.
And you don't find your passion finds you. And you're working with people, and you're like, damn, I love working with people. Maybe not waiting tables for the rest of my life, but I know that's what I want. Or I hate working with people, okay? There's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
So I want to be in a back office, number crunching, whatever.
That's fine.
So that's why I feel like, I feel like you guys, kids, have so much pressure because everyone's trying to figure out what they want to do for the rest of their life. All my careers were accidents, right? The salon was a total accident. Then I thought I was going to, open a salon in every city for the next 40 years. And if you would have told me if we hung out, and you would have said, dude, in a couple of years or in 10 years or 15 years, you won't be in the salon business. You'll
keynote speaking.
I'd be like, I'll bet you $1 million there's not a chance.
You're wrong.
Right? Yeah. But I can't believe I get paid to do this.
Yeah.
Right? So find your ikigai.
Ikigai.
I got to look more into that.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
John, well, promote your book a little bit, The Relationship Economy. Where do people, Amazon?
Go to Amazon. They go to the DiJulius group. Wherever. Yeah, it's on Amazon. The Relationship Economy. What's the tagline? Building stronger customer connections in a digital world.
Very important.
So it came out at a perfect time,
really
right
did.
at the pandemic.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's still on the website, but I think you can get any book on your website for $10 right now.
In December. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. We did our research.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I had to buy it for a couple people. I had to buy it for a couple people.
Yeah, so normally $24, but we're doing a promotion on the DiJulius group, $10 till December 23rd.
Awesome.
Guys, it's a good book. Dominic's read it. I've read it.
Thank you.
Yep. And if you can, before we go, your website, people can find you on Facebook, Instagram. Where you at? Just kind of plug yourself.
John DiJulius on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all those places.
Absolutely.
It's all the same.
I mean, there's tons of videos on YouTube. And guys, I strongly urge you to go listen to these and look at them. I mean, you've spoken to Renaissance, you've spoken to Ritz-Carlton, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, Carnival Cruise, like the whole nine, right? And plenty more companies. And a lot of this content is out there, guys, and there's a lot of value that you can take.
I've also spoken on Elevate Cleveland.
Elevate podcast. That's right. That's right. That's right. After your name's on there. That's right. That's right. So
there we go.
There you go. Episode is in the books.
Yeah.
5 is in the books, and we are counting even more.
Every day.
Every day. That's right.
Every week.
That's right. We appreciate it. John, thank you so much for coming on. To all of our viewers, thank you. As we always say, guys, like it, share it, subscribe to it on YouTube.
Unsubscribe, resubscribe.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Keep hitting it.
Tell your grandmother.
And share it with somebody, right? We say the butterfly effect. You never know who it is you share it with and whose hands it ultimately ends up with and what information they might take from this that inspires them to ultimately change the world with what it is they implement in their lives. As always, guys, we appreciate your support. Signing off.
See ya.